Man, here it is after what is this? Well, where I'm at currently, kind of after what some may call, what do you want to call it? Dusk to dawn, or after midnight, or this is when the creepy crawlers come out, or some of us come alive at the nighttime, or like sometimes I call myself a night owl or whatever. Um, Man, they just get major insight. I haven't did one of these in a while, like a blackout message, but I was just up after doing a little purge, and these are like for you that don't know. Shout out to a lot of you. I love you. I appreciate you. Just you know, sending not just healing, but awareness, but just courage and awareness around who you are, and more awareness around what you're here to do. Like, because sending healing vibes or sending vibes to other people, especially when you know yourself to be learning more about my own childhood, how sensitive I was, and how empathetic, or some may say like an empath, use the term empath, or just me realizing now how important like emotional intelligence is and the awareness around it, and how just so much has been coming up, and so much in relations to like uh unstable foundations when it comes to like emotion, mentally, spiritually, physically, just things that's coming up from childhood and so forth. And I have like these random moments, so I'm going to speak of like literally, this is, I probably titled this like the thoughts, or thoughts, memories from a generational curse breaker. And a lot of you probably probably never heard of that term, or some may call a cycle breaker, or people who pretty much can channel the energy, pain, and experiences and so forth when it comes to their lineage, both matriarchal and patriarchal. And I've talked about this and gone into depth about this, and I just had things come up just randomly tonight, and it was just put on me to just really like write out something after I like again had a purging moment, because I was writing, and I was speaking about how like how the tears, like when I was writing, it starts off like how the tears of a generational curse breaker is not, how did I say this? I'm not going to read it all because I actually want to put it in a different format. The tears of a generational curse breaker goes unnoticed. His tears is a drop in the vastness of the ocean. A drop in the middle of the ocean that no physical eyes have witnessed, yet the pain and agony is felt by the creatures within the depths, beneath the depths of the ocean. And so it's like, oh my gosh, it's so great. Like, this is what I was writing. And basically, to get into that, it's like, so things that come to me is like not even just thoughts, but the awareness around like what it is to be a generational curse breaker. And it's like, it was just hitting me. I was like, man, like, and I'm pretty sure they'll come, you know, this is, would align with those who really, it's like almost like goes through humiliation in a way, in the public eye, in the family. It can seem like it's embarrassing in a way, or humiliation. I mean, if you, I don't know if you can kind of put them hand in hand, but sometimes if one is not secure or confident within self, it can seem like an embarrassment when you are on this journey. When you are on this journey of where you're choosing to be a healer and face the shadows of, the shadows and fears, and some may say use the term demons, or all these things spiritually, whatever you want to use, but basically facing things that most don't even realize, like that's not really in the tangible or material or spiritual world. Like half of it is what a lot of people aren't aware of, is like you just thinking that um and this is not for everybody, but it's just you and your family, and then you coming into this deeper awareness of what your purpose is here and your mission, and and most don't find that. And so, like, what I was writing about is like how a generational curse breaker can feel like I in the writing I was speaking about how like it's like being a storm in the middle of the ocean or the sea. It's like a storm that no one knows about. They're aware. Most people don't even know that storms like happen at sea. And I don't mean just your hurricanes, but it's something like that in a way. It's like before they come, it's still considered a storm, but it's like that of how I can relate myself to be that only like the Most High or Source can see and witness. Like it's like a way of like only the Most High and those who have been on this journey or coming into it or will come online eventually, or even connect with people you're not even realizing. Like some people literally come in your life and seeing the importance of the storm. Everybody's not going to come in your life and just be a rainbow, because people forget that rainbow comes after the storms. And so using that analogy with the hurricane and the storm, it's like that's what being a generational curse breaker is, or a cycle breaker. Those who choose to channel up that pain and really be aware of what the fuck they've been going through and what their lineage, what their, whether men or women have been going through and experiencing, when it's you're attacked for not continuously suppressing or repressing the shame and guilt around what has really happened, whether that's through, sexual traumas, speaking up against like rape, speaking up against physical, verbal abuse, even being in partnerships where you have to be the one, at times where you've seen it, recycled it, and then even being the bigger person to walk away, even when sometimes that person, because I've seen it and experienced it, even when that person is not processing, or certain things are not processing to where they so used to the trauma bonds, or used to trauma bonding, to where a lot of us grew up in environments where we've seen so many of our mothers and fathers manipulate us through their anger, through their emotions, through their projections, through their own internal beliefs or core values, when deep down there was nothing valuable or substance, nothing sustainable or stable about it. These are the thoughts. These are the things that come up for generational curse breakers when we are attacked and humiliated in front of people. How dare you be healthy, bro? How dare you want to change your habits? How dare you want to change patterns? You laughed and ridiculed in public. Whether it's not just public, but you're attacked, through the media, social media, and so forth. The real fucked up, dysfunctional aspect of this society. How dare you love yourself? How dare you walk away and not fight? How dare you not entertain the dysfunctional family, the karmic aspect? How dare you not want to stay in this with us? This is like what the family, the karmic family, if you want to use that term, or how dare you not want to, I'm telling you from my experience, it's like some people will never know the depths of that. The courage, the strength, the resilience it takes. It really is like that of being like a storm, because the power that a storm knows it has, yet it doesn't. It just comes unexpectedly. It's like unpredictable. You don't know the damage that the storm will create, but you know that it's a storm. That's the power a lot of us have. We come like that of a storm, wrecking shit, shaking shit up, because we choose to speak up, because we choose to use our voice, because we choose to not, keep stuff down anymore. And we're attacked. A lot of us grew up in demographics where we're cussed out. We're put out. From my experience, where I've stood up for people who have purposely protected predators, men who preyed on little boys and girls, who molested them. And then to see your elders, or see so-called elders, which I use a term like growing old, they're not growing wiser. who protect these same men and women, protect the abusers, protecting the molesters and predators. Come on, bruh. You want to talk about being a generational curse breaker? Then having integrity through that shit. Seeing me standing up to someone. And then as soon as I do that, it's like a standing up to the spirit within people. Their own spiritual warfare they're warring with. Because it most likely probably triggers something within them. And their fear of not really speaking up because them losing family members to the really being honest with themselves. It's the thing where I could no longer protect the mothers, the aunts, the fathers, and so forth from their own shit. Whether karmically, me not protecting them from the fact of them needing to see themselves and realize, like, you can only play victim for so long. It's only going to lead to self-destruction. And until you realize self-destruction can lead you to self-discovery, but your pride is in the way. I stood up in front of a lot of people. And a lot of you, this is my encouraging message to a lot of you. A lot of us have done that. And guess what? Whether relationships and so forth, seeing those patterns and you realize, like, wow, now I give gratitude. I can sit back and discuss this and write about it. And then to even, like I said, standing up in front of, certain family members and so forth and see them protect the wicked and continue to let them prey on the innocent. And it's like it didn't the trauma of like the trauma bonding to see how people can protect that and don't realize like eventually it's all go backfire. I sat back and laughed, man, now because it's like even when I did that, I was literally put out someone's house just because of that. I literally experienced something like that. And it's like now I'm grateful because I knew that was only preparing me for something better, something more sustainable. I had my integrity, I had my morals, I had my principles. I had to learn to regroup. I had to learn to restructure my own fucking foundation. Because if I would have kept that narrative going, guess what I would have done? I would have continued a cycle of doing the same shit. Same thing. And that goes to even the fact of in the past being in relationships where whether they were abusive, whether it was substance abuse or whatever it is, it's like, where does the shit's gotta stop with me? If it ain't nobody else, that's the thing about a generational curse breaker. When you realize like the shit that people building, and you sit here thinking they got it, the glitz and glam, and just because they did all this, you don't know what it took. You don't know what people hiding. You don't know what type of cycles. You don't know what type of mask that they got on. And you realize like the illusion that they're giving off. I'm telling you, man, as soon as I walked away from a lot of stuff, that's when I realized my protection left as well. Because I knew I had to protect me instead of protecting that which was going to fall anyway. Because sometimes staying somewhere, we think we could be, we think we can be protecting someone. And in reality, are we protecting them from the karma that they need to experience? Are we protecting them from the lesson that they need to see with themselves? A lot of what I realized, I realized a lot of them are going to a lot of things that when I has been a generational curse breaker, it's like, bro, I realized like a lot of folks are going to have to end up being with themselves because I had to do the same thing. I had to relearn to build like my core values, like the integrity within myself, because if I look at the patterns of the men and women that which I come from my own personal experience, there's no fucking integrity. There's no morals. There's no principles. There's nothing, no values. I don't care if it was religion or even spirituality. A lot of certain things. There was no like substance in it. And you talking about years and years, and you talking about them building. Building what? Building shit upon sand. And that's where you see the cycles of, you know, a lot of trauma, abuse, you know, all these things going on. And then you realize, like, even just because you don't see it, don't mean it ain't going on in the home. One of the greatest things I had to do for myself, and this is for a lot of you, is that, and also being a generational curse breaker, it's like the biggest thing is walking away. Sometimes, most of the time, staying away from those very people that you know that's not building shit. They ain't got shit but their word, and their word don't even align with their actions. That ain't integrity. They talk about it, but it ain't aligning. They're not out there in the community. They're not out there building shit. And that was the most difficult thing that I realized when I start to see certain ways of how certain family members or certain people were moving with malicious intent, being secretive, thinking that they're hiding their motives, when, you know, some of us are so gifted to where we just sit back and observe. Because as I start to like really get away from people, and really a lot of part of restructuring myself and listening also to my intuition and my discernment, I started to realize how much I did not listen to that shit when I was young, when it was naturally instilled in me. But I was at that time used to being around women and or men, most importantly, a lot of women who literally, like, I sat back and I realized I'm so glad that I'm out of their lives and not around what they're doing, because a lot of these single mothers, or a lot of these mothers who are wounded, literally have the power to destroy their sons. And I was literally part of that. And I'm grateful to be here speaking to the young men and women, because it's to hold the women accountable. If you don't really face the things and the patterns that you realize that with your mother, your great-grandmother, and so forth. And then to the young men, it's like, you are not what your mother has called you. You are not what she has defined you to be. Because if she's not pouring into you, if she doesn't have a pattern of, you know, speaking to you healthy, and you cannot ignore the signs of when you see that interaction, how she is with other men. Because a lot of this shit is trauma bonding. When I started to become aware how manipulative my mother was and my grandmother, a lot of women who I realized in certain aspects, in certain relationships, they protected their abusers. They allowed their abusers to project and harm their kids. They protected the molesters. This shit is fucked up. When you really look at it, it's dysfunctional. Because of their own fear, their own attachments, because of their own abandonment wounds. And I've seen a lot of this, where the mother would get mad at the child, the little girl, when that little girl was messed with by her boyfriend, mama boyfriend and stuff, and then she throw the little girl out, or she cussed her out and do all this other stuff because of that mother abandonment issues, man. Sometimes even falsely accused, the man, and what I mean by that, it's like just the jealousy within so much of these generational patterns and curses that has people don't even know that run so deep, bro. So deep. And I was telling someone, don't let you just catch on to their fucking patterns. That's what I realized. I said, once I started to peep stuff and see, and then I had to get to that place where I no longer start to talk about it. I just start to fucking walk away, because I start to realize my worth and my value. And that goes back to learning and creating my own belief system, my own core values and so forth. Then I realized like that, it made me more aware, even the relationships, the partnerships, the business ships, everything. How is this motherfucker really moving? How is she really moving? He or she. What is she really doing? Like, and it's not so much being so focused on that. It really, the awareness around how I've been moving. Where did I develop these patterns from? These are the thoughts of a generational curse breaker, bro. When I'm sitting here telling someone, I'm like, yo, you won't know the depths of what I, as a man representing the patriarchal, you won't know the depths of what my lineage from what I've seen. Like, I can express it to you. You're a woman, not discrediting it at all, but at the same moment, you're naturally programmed, or you're naturally, you feel. I'm logically here as a man processing the fact of like, yo, what the fuck? I've been around all these dudes who never really been sustainable, don't even know what emotional intelligence is, don't know what it is to really have something, to really build something with integrity, with loving themselves, with honoring their emotions and so forth. And here I am doing it. And then to them, because they want to hide behind this mask and be tough, and to the world, all this dope boy shit and this rugged stuggish shit and all this trauma bonding shit, when you see really on television, these are the thoughts of a generational curse breaker. All that trauma bonding shit with these television shows, these big name producers and shit, all that shit trauma bonding. That's all it is when I see that. If it ain't drug, some of these parts of these actors, all this shit is sitting around them portraying, like, it's like so centered around cheating, stepping, not even just cheating, it's just so much centered around enabling the fucking trauma in the cycles. Because we already have seen it at home. And so then it's like you can literally see these people get endorsed or paid by the trauma. Like, to enable our fucking trauma, bro. It don't matter how you look at it. That's why I tell y'all about the sports, the entertainment, all of it. Celebrity, it don't even matter. All of it is a part of, again, in some way, somehow, I'm able to see. And that's the thing about being gifted. It's just the awareness around it. Like I said, this is my perspective. People gonna feel the way they're gonna feel. I'm cool with that, but at the same moment, I'm telling myself, like, yo, what the fuck? Okay, Source, this why you didn't want me to be in this situation? Oh, this why you didn't want me to play? I would not be here, bro. I'm trying to tell you, I told y'all, like, it's like, I get more, it's awareness now in the, when I really do see now the experience with certain, like, with when I go play with kids at the basketball court, like the younger kids and so forth. When I interact with, like, it's completely different now, the awareness around it, because I cannot not see the fact of, speaking about my father wounds, of like seeing or knowing that I had to become my own father. And then knowing that I had a wounded mother who did not have a father present. So a lot of that played a role in even how I developed my emotions from a wounded woman, how I developed my outlook on women from a wounded woman, how I also developed the fact of, by a stepfather being there, how abusive he was because he projected his anger. These are the thoughts. These are the things. This is the insight and awareness of a generational curse breaker. Because everybody ain't got the fucking courage to talk about this. Everybody ain't got the courage to move differently like this. Because they don't want to be so-called embarrassed. They don't want people to see the real them. How the fuck how you worried about people seeing the real you? You ain't even you don't even know who you are, the real you to you. You still afraid of exposing the real you to you. And concerned about how the family gonna view you and all that. So what? Oh, he think he better. Yeah, I am better. What are y'all doing? What are you building on? How the fuck are y'all better? Y'all still doing the same thing. Better in what? Where's the discipline in it? You will never know this path. Because y'all choose to go down the same shit, do the same stuff. These are the thoughts. These are the mindsets. These are those out there that know to the depths. Like, when you walking in this, you got to be okay with you Whether, to be at peace, learning that process of unlearning and being at peace with yourself. Because a lot of us stayed in environments. A lot of us grew up in environments that was the opposite of peace. It was so fucking chaotic that we became so consumed and programmed by it until we accepted it like, oh yeah, this is life. This is what living life is. And you can see that shit when you see that the it's pushed in the narrative of little kids when they out there like, that's the life. Real fast, no awareness of self. Real fast, just go real fast. And not realizing the consequences or just sit to certain things. It's certain cats I could not stay around, certain people, certain women. That's the awareness. Whether it's kids or not, you got with someone. It's the awareness on, is this person willing to grow? Can this person really see their patterns? And sometimes we unconsciously don't even know this shit, bro. This shit be so deeply programmed. I'm talking about I had to realize like how much I was beaten on. And then you got some people that were justified. Shout out to Love Dorsey. When she brung up something that I saw across her video, you can look at my community center where I talked about this. Share her video actually. But she said something about like something where, because see, this is levels to this shit. It's only certain things because it's the oneness. Like we're all different shades, but some people use the term black community, melanated community, so forth, whatever it is. But when it comes to certain people healings or wounds, our perspective is completely different. When it comes to breaking generational cycles and change, especially being a melanated or darker person in America, depending on their demographics, because not everyone is the same. But a lot of shit that she be discussing, a lot of stuff that like it literally, it don't anger me, but it trigger me. It brings something up in me, whether I wanted to accept it or not. It's the uncomfortable truths that we are afraid to accept because we're so comfortable with fucking lies. The lies we told ourselves, the lies we accepted about other people. And one thing she was talking about is like how we've been around certain wounded women that will whoop us for no reason and be angry just because, how dare you talking back? Man, I'll whoop. Come here. I'm going to get you. I'm trying to tell y'all, man, I told my partner, I was like, man, because we grew up in two demographics. And I be telling people, it's like, some of the greatest things you can ever do is sit down with people that come from different demographics. Because don't ever think that people are light of shade ain't going through shit. Because the scary thing about it is that everybody going through something. They just have a good way of covering that shit up with money, with some other shit too. Whether it's drugs or whatever, they just don't tell you. And, I was telling my partner, coming from two different demographics, it's like, I told her, I was like, I'm used to confrontation because I had to grow up and defend myself early. And what I mean by that, you got, Love Dorsey was talking about how like you will have certain caregivers or guardians, grandmothers, so forth, that because of their own fucking internal battle and woundedness or whatever, you don't even got to be right in the situation. They'll just whoop you. They'll take out anger. And I remember specifically like shit coming up now to where I remember specifically like the whoopings I would get. And you got people that will justify and don't even see it as abuse because that child is innocent. But yet these are unstable, unstable creatures, but women and men that don't have no sense of emotional intelligence because they've been either so angry for what they experienced or what their mama instilled in them, what they inherited through their lineage before they arrived or whatever. And I'm sitting here talking about the fact of like, when she mentioned that shit brought up so much within me, man, because it's like I'm at a great place right now, at peace with a lot of things, because I told myself not only that I'm bigger and stronger, like physically, back then I had to defend myself physically, so confrontation was nothing. It was natural. A lot of us, it was natural. People who don't know about this, it is natural, depending on the demographic, especially if you're in the hood and trenches and you grew up in these apartment complexes, you grew up on, your mama had Section 8, whatever it is, governmental assistance and so forth, it was survival of the fittest. We ain't got to go to no fucking sign up for no military, go somewhere. The war was already on right there in the turf, right there in the hood. See who can make it out. Not just there when you came outside. Because you face to face with niggas who, you face to face with niggas and motherfuckers who hate themselves. Because they in the home where mamas and daddy hate themselves. Whether the daddy there or not. Mama got resentment towards him because either he left, had another baby, so forth, blah, 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 blah. He only come around, sort of, when he want to hump, when he want to do that. She might get pregnant again. Then he get mad because she bringing people in and out. I'm telling you, bro. I told someone today. I said, "Yo, look, the thoughts of a generational curse breaker, bro. It's just what it is." I had it's funny as it may sound, so funny because we laugh at fucking trauma. That's how dysfunctional shit is. That's how messed up shit is. I had my mom tell me in high school. And this how I'm finna show you how traumatic this shit is. I was telling someone that, I said, well, before I get on that, going back to the whipping thing, it's like when I can recall, before I get into this subject with, this other trauma bonding thing, it's like it was normalized for us to get whooped even when we didn't even do shit, bro. I remember I could tell, I can name almost, let me see, growing up, let me count this. At least, I can name, depending on from the age of, probably most likely a toddler. I say from the age of 5, 6, whatever, until let me see, almost till before I got, probably around middle school, whatever that age is, 12, 13. I'm gonna tell y'all some real shit. I probably had I couldn't tell you how many times I was bullied by either family members or school because I wasn't the tallest or biggest at that moment. And by family members who bully, or even in the younger age where we were just being kids. I remember when my great grandma used to watch us. And, we used to just go outside and play. But amongst us all, we bullied each other. Because I had a lot of cousins. And then some cousins were stronger than the other ones. Some of them, and this real shit, it's just we naturally trauma bond because most of all of us was whooped. And then I remember there was a favoritism towards, and I was telling my partner, I said there was favoritism towards little girls because naturally boys are looked at as aggressors and girls are naturally looked at as victims. That means I had cousins that could easily go tell my grandma or somebody something, and she would, or somebody, they would naturally, with no hesitation, protect the little girl. And sometimes we'll get punched, whooped, or whatever. She can just cry. And you see this dysfunctional shit right now. And this has happened to me. I'm telling you from experience. Where I was in relationships where, like I said, it wasn't me being the abuser. I was being abused. I was being used. And it's not a victim story. This is the fact of you will have someone which you didn't know the terminology then, gaslighting. You will have this girl literally do stuff, or she will have her own insecurities of being jealous and so forth. Basically her own traumas. And do certain things to where it's you don't even realize you're trauma bonded. But then when you turn your back, she attacks you. And it gets to that point naturally, you as a man knowing you're bigger, and you're going to be seen as the aggressor. But yet, women are not naturally seen as aggressors. And this is another downfall of what the man represents. There was a point in time years ago where a woman can hit herself. And this is where they changed the so-called law. A woman can go downtown to the courthouse or go downtown to the sheriff's office or whatever and say this man hit her, and they'll literally drive and get that man, lock him up for it. That was like 24, 48 hours, like assault. You don't see men doing that. Because a lot of what we don't even realize, like so much a man goes through, especially a darker man, is that our first abusers, bullies, molesters, all that shit came either from the dark women that look like us or men that look like us. And I'm telling you from someone who's darker. It's not to say this is happening in all cultures. I'm talking about in the demographics. And then you had not to mention the people who protect them. Who protect these people. These are the thoughts. This is the awareness of a generational curse breaker, of a cycle breaker in the lineage. Because motherfuckers don't want you to talk about this shit. They don't want you speaking about this. Motherfucker will take you out. Not just put you out. They want to literally get rid of you because how dare you talk. What? That's how wicked motherfuckers is. That's how programmed motherfuckers is, want to stay in that. They want to stay in that. Because you got people behind the scenes getting paid. And so, like I said, it's like, bro, it is wild. Like, to see how what my mom told me, bro. Like, okay, going back to the people, you know, I remember this shit go deep. Like, we had a grandfather, one of my husband, like my husband, but my grandmother's husband at the time when we were, this was when we were real young. I remember specifically, and this is graphic. If y'all ain't really, you know, you don't. I'm just letting you know. It's just repressed memories and emotions coming up around this. Because I'm just letting y'all know. You will never know the depths of stuff. I'm not here to convince you and so forth. But there are horrific shit that happen to people that they are afraid to talk about. They can't. It's not that they can't talk about it. Because I always tell people can. C-A-N comes before the T. They can to themselves. But it was so much fear pumped into us when we were young that if we told anything, we would get our ass whooped. We would get beat. I'm telling you. But I remember specifically like the grandfather of my grandmother at the time, because again, my mom was out on the streets or whatever. I remember the home we grew up in, and we were so, you know, I say we was around, I want to say 6, 7. It was like torture when you are told to go in the corner and stand in the corner for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, and just look at the wall. And if you looked around or whatever, laugh, like being a kid, you got to realize there has been an attack on our innocence for a lot of us since we have came out the fucking womb. There's an attack that has been on our innocence, on the purity of who we have been since a child. Not just from the world, from our immediate family or whatever it is, from the government and so forth, everything. So there were times where we had to stand up in the corner. Sometimes we had to put one foot up. Let your foot hit that ground, boy or girl. Grandma coming right around that corner with a switch. If you don't know what a switch is, I'm not talking about no gun. See, the switch y'all be using now, we talking about switches. Like the, when you go, grandma used to pull over, you know, somewhere, she'll tell you go outside on, you know, that bush and get them switches. That's what they call it. They used to go get, like, you know, some of us, they used to tell you, go get three, you can say not really branches, but they were, they had a little give to them. You know, three switches. And it's basically like, I say some of them would be like the length of like, how long would they be? About at least 24, like 2 feet. That's the ones I remember. Like a good length to where when that shit hits your legs and she tell you get 3 or get 1, don't let you go out there and get some thin ass switch. a little stick that you know is dead and is given. Oh, she really gonna tear your ass up. Yeah. Yeah. Go out there and get me some switches. Oh, you know what's on now. That's why they went from 1 to 3. 1 to 3. See, a lot of us we develop a fucking pain tolerance, bruh. That's why a lot of us are so numb to pain, because our body have stored the trauma, bruh. This shit is so deep. I talk about this shit. This shit is real, bruh. My body has stored the trauma. I got a book I told you, it's like the body keeps a score. Like, literally. It ain't just your body. It's your, when you talking about your body, I'm talking about your brain. I'm talking about the memories. This shit is embedded in your memories. Some things subconsciously, yeah. And this shit comes up now. Your grandma there, go get them switches. 3 switches, she braid them together. Those of you that know how to plait, you know what I'm talking about. And boy, let you put that leg down when she tell you hold that leg up. It's torture. You holding your leg up, standing on one leg, looking at the wall for 30, 40 minutes. Let you put that leg down. Them switches come across your leg, you got whelps. Then your leg tied, then she, you know, you don't get to switch the other leg, then she hit your hands and all like that. Oh yeah, you wearing pants the next day because they're afraid to get in trouble. Because they're afraid of the consequences. Because the last thing they wanted to do is get CPS involved. Because a lot of our so-called elders and these wounded women and men have suppressed so much shit and have been so dysfunctional that they justify their behavior and call this shit good parenting. They've been great caregivers. And that's utterly bullshit and delusion. Literally insanity. Literally like some psychopathic shit. How y'all teaching us and you calling it discipline and not expect us to recycle this shit? Then you get mad and you surprised that I can't believe he did this. I thought what I did, I raised him better than that. You raised me to what? What the fuck you, if I'm not looked at as delicate as a child, like a flower, you don't go up to a flower and beat it. You beat the petals off the motherfucker and you beat the petals and the leaves off of it. Because that's why I tell y'all we haven't been watered. These are the thoughts of a generational curse breaker. These are the things we deal with. The pains that show up later, mentally, emotionally, physically. I told y'all before, imagine, again, I've talked about this on previous videos. I've had to rehab, and this shit ain't even funny. I had to rehab my hip for so long after playing basketball or just doing things, and it's much better now. But literally from being hit by a car young and my mom not taking me to the hospital, and this is around like 7 or 8 in elementary school on a bicycle. Literally being hit and then don't take nobody to the hospital. Because it's like the consequence, it's the fear or whatever it is, like the responsibility that they know they didn't have. Why have us if you weren't ready for the responsibility? And then they get mad now when you go no contact or don't want to speak to them, and you're trying to heal from their ass, trying to heal and break generational curses and patterns. Because I don't want to trauma bond with you no more. Because I already give you grace. Because I got to give myself grace and compassion to heal, to do yoga, to stretch, to allow my mind to process this shit, to process these emotions, because I want to whoop your ass. And I don't mean whoop. I really want to put these paws on you. I really want to, I'm telling y'all, I know specifically, it's like I had the memories of people whooping me. I know specifically, like I said, the grandfather that in those homes, going back to in that same home, my grandma would do us like that. There was a grandfather that would hold us upside down. Literally. I got family members that will tell you this. Especially the boys. The girls that get whooped that much. If they did, that's when he would step in and tell my grandma, like, no, he would get mad at them. And some shit I question now, because a lot of what they protecting the girls from made me assume, like, what are you protecting? Are you like literally like, it made me question people's relationship they have with men in this in that family. I'm gonna say that family, like karmic family, because it's like, again, you don't know who's protecting or have protected molesters or predators. And so because of the relationship, it's just like, it's real weird. Especially when you know certain kids that have slept in the bed when they were certain ages to a certain age, and now you realize, like, that's not even cool. What really went on? And then, again, this man, the boys that was in the family, he literally will go in the bathroom, turn us upside down with our one leg butt naked and whoop us. Torture. Yeah. And it's funny because there are times when I've, seen this person, and I'm telling you, I know what I can do to him. I know what I can do a lot of these people down, because, again, at the time I was not bigger, and I'm not trying to act like the baddest and whatever it is. Trust me, a man that has gotten to a place of discipline, and I tell people that, it's the self-awareness around the inner growth. The thoughts that comes up after certain things that have been done to you, and then you're in a country, or you have been in a country or an environment where, when you realize these women that are darker, who are wounded, not all, but what you've experienced, are like targeting you because they're not healed. And then you have people that don't look like you in a country who don't want to even see you prosper or move forward with a lot of shit. Because you can walk in confidence, because you can speak your truth, and simply because your stature. Some shit, people don't even know why they don't like you. It's their own inner conflict, own inner critic. That's some of my experience. I'm telling you, man, generational curse. But I had my mom look at me in high school. And I was telling someone this, and I was like, imagine your mother looking at you in the eyes and say, I don't care what you do, as long as you don't bring a baby home. What? And then that shit clicked, it hit. I was like, whoa, what? You don't even care what type of woman I bring here, as long as it reminds you of you. Because this is why I came to this self-realization about, anything that even presents itself healthy to someone who's not trying to heal, or who's not aware of that shit, they automatically are against it. And I've seen this personally with my own experience. You ever been around someone that's wounded, especially a woman or a man, whether they raise you, whether single parent and so forth, and no one is ever good enough? And then I realized mom and dad never felt enough for themselves, so no one is going to be good enough. So it's this weird ass excessive, like, emotional attachment to their kids. So they literally, I've seen people self-sabotage their relationship by doing mischievous shit, like going behind their partners, their sons or daughters' back, and purposely sabotaging their relationship. I'm telling y'all, like, I'm letting y'all know some deep shit right now. I remember I was telling someone, I was like, I remember my mom would literally go behind my back and ask the women that I was seeing at the time for money, or do certain things like that, because she knew it would never be okay with me, because she knew I would never give it to her, because I knew that, like, now that I know now, they don't know she has a drug addiction or, battle with stuff like that, because I've already set a boundary. And I realized, like, when you're in partnership with people like that, that's why it's so important for people to know who they are. And that's why it's so important, like, who you partner up with. Are they aware? Do they have firm boundaries? Do they know who they are? Are they aware of their own traumas and behavior patterns? So I'm like, what the bro? And then I realized, like, a lot of those things where I realized why I was so purposely seeing that dysfunction, why I had to get away from certain people, because of so much of the influence that they wanted to have on my life. Like this obsession, this monitoring spirit type shit. Watching everything you're doing. Making multiple pages. Like literally, like wow shit. And it's the awareness around, like I said, this is my perspective. It could be different for a lot of people. But literally, my mom told me that. She was like, I don't care what you do, as long as you don't bring no baby. I'm like, what? And then now I reflect back on those cycles. Like, I had cycles of women. Cycles of women that would come in and out the house. And my mom really didn't give a fuck. I remember having house parties, y'all. I had house parties. Those of you that really know me, you know I'm talking about shit like, you know what I'm saying? I don't have shame and guilt around who I was. It's just my path to talk about these things, like my purpose, because having, like, being a father is more now the awareness around how I represent now the patriarchal, and then have, you know, and then whether you with someone, you know, seeing the importance of like what their legacy, you know, what, you know, the legacy that you want to continue, or the legacy you want to continue, and also what you want to instill in your kids and plant seeds. So it's like, how could I not be aware or look at this shit? Like, bro, I was reckless, irresponsible, and so forth with a lot of shit. And it's the awareness around accepting where I'm at and the season that I'm in. I'm like, yo, now I see why I had to move. I had to move and get away from this person and do this and do that and certain things, because that shit is deep. Those wounds were deep. How you gonna let a wound heal if you're not aware of it, of these traumas, and seeing how these patterns have affected your life? And then how can I not see how it will affect and have a ripple effect on the kids that I will bring into this world? Like I said, it may not be someone else's path, but I know what what I've been given to bring forth here. That shit is a huge responsibility. Everybody not ready for that. Everybody don't got the courage. Everybody don't got, are ready to walk that path, that path least traveled. Everybody not ready to do that. And it got to take somebody out of your lineage. And a lot of us are those people. But for her to tell me that, I realized, like, I was reflecting back until certain parts of certain ages I was in. And I was like, fuck. It was a repetitive cycle of women not caring who I laid down with. At that moment, like, getting STDs. I'm just being real. And luckily, I'm grateful that it was nothing that I couldn't cure myself from or go get checked out to get it, removed. And I wouldn't find out shit till I got when I departed, I went to Job Corps. Naturally you got to get checked up there, and they was like, I'm like, what? You in disbelief, because imagine growing up and you don't have no father or someone there teaching you about these things that are important. Not this financial literacy, people. Not this superficial shit. I'm talking about the fact of discipline yourself. Semen retention. Keep that shit in your pants, my boy. Take care of your mental, my boy. Having a deeper awareness on the world, how this shit really moving, especially now, when you see an identity crisis. And I'm grateful that I have a deeper awareness on who I am. Whew. Because I can sit back with my popcorn and eat and just watch this shit crumble and watch the world like really lose it. And it's like, I can't really change it. I just realized how important it was. Like, for those that don't know, I had went, what's this year? 24. I had went like literally I ain't ever think I would be able to do this, and I know I can do it again. And I would encourage, others, if you are up to that task. Like I said, it's not forcing nothing on no one, no narrative or anything. And if I have any way feel like I force anything or try to, it's not my intentions on doing that. Because sometimes we unconscious of what the fuck we be saying sometimes. But it is what it is. I'm just going off my knowingness, my awareness, and so forth, my experience. That's why I do my best to speak from my experiences. But I did have, I guess you can use the term abstinence or celibacy journey. I mean, I gotta really look at it and see what's the difference. But anyway, basically I was restraining from sex. And when I did that, when was it the year around? What is this, 24? Yeah, so when I went on that coming out of something, I was like, I didn't have intercourse with like no woman, nobody, like over 2 years. And like it really showed me a lot about who I am, where I stood with women. It really showed me a lot about like what people really wanted me for. It really showed me a lot about like, the awareness of life, how people move. It really just showed me a lot about like, like it really changed my whole perspective on life, my mindset towards women, towards most importantly myself. And I was saying like, it make a lot of sense because again, when I was growing up, again, going back to like when my mom said like, I don't care what you do as long as you don't bring a baby in this house. I was like, what? And it's like, you're thinking like this cool because we grew up in a culture like, yeah, nigga, just go. Yeah, she back. Oh, she did. Yeah, just go put it up in the, spill your semen, go do this and do this, without no type of responsibility. And then now, I speak about my father wound. And it's a fact of like, I felt like, like, damn, nigga, you should have been there because I only had cousins and certain people around who had multiple, baby mamas. And then now I look at it like you only creating more broken homes, bro. Because all of them cannot receive you like the way they want you to because you got kids over here, you got kids over there. Then this leaves like a void for that child in a way, whether you know it unconsciously or not, or some type of emptiness. And not to mention, I just saw so much irresponsibility when it came to certain men. Now I realized they had mother wound and father wounds because a lot of them didn't have a father. So a lot of them didn't have discipline. Then the way that their mother spoke to them is literally seeing a pattern of like how their mother spoke to them. And she didn't have really discipline. She didn't respect men. So it was like, what the fuck is really going on? And so I'm seeing like cousins or, dudes just crash out, go to prison and so forth. And it's like, and they still, a lot of them come out, that's their identity. They don't even know how to break free from it. They go right back to the same narrative. They don't see beyond their hometown. They don't see beyond anything else. And then now it's really hitting a lot of people because that whole narrative, that whole culture, even when you see rappers still talking about this shit, like what all that selling kilos and reload, all this shit, da. Then when you look at the depths of that, I'm like, bro, to the depths of that, what are you really teaching the youth? Huh? How can you say that music wouldn't affect them? This is the thoughts of a generational curse breaker. This is the awareness. How can y'all assume that shit won't have an effect on them eventually? I was there. Talking about music where I just want every girl in the world. What? I'm saying like, bro, hold on. What have I been listening to? And we allowing this to enable us. And then you see these very people now just look like they drained emotionally, mentally, spiritually, because it's like they consumed by the very shit they put out there. And it's like karma just like ping pong or boomerang. And I tell myself, if I'm going to be my own man and be a generational curse breaker, I have to have a little more heightened awareness on, like, you know, whether daughter or a son, to where it's like, Now let me ask myself, with seeing the women that I know, would I want my son to even be anything, like want him to even be in a partnership with the wounded women that I know personally? Absolutely not. Okay, my daughter, even looking at my circumstances, because I know I've experienced things from a wounded woman, I wouldn't ever encourage her to, as she grows, to, that's why I give her game now. This is awareness. That's why I give her game now. Like, speaking life, being mindful, being conscious how we raise them. Like I said, it's a process, because it's not perfect, because you're talking about unlearning behavior patterns, unlearning unhealthy patterns that we develop from these mothers and fathers, man. It's deep. It's wild, because I mean, it's not even about, it ain't even, like, I don't have to disclose this, but a lot of you don't know, like, you don't know her personally, but, like, again, I have another sister that my dad created, and just reconnecting with her, and again, like, she just going through something personally, like, real deep, where she has, personally, I talked to her, like, she's went through something where she got the epidural, and then I tell people, do their research. If you look at the epidural, literally go on the, what is it, like pregnancy something, I forgot what it's called, but if you research what is in epidural, this is why it's facts. So fuck about being flagged or whatever. It's about facts and authenticity. When you go on there and look at, like, what's in epidural, and she had got a epidural, like, in her, like, a spine and back, and you're seeing a lot of this come up, like these cases, or it will eventually, where some women, or a lot of women, have birth defects. Their child have birth defects because of the being induced with whatever this shit is, and just seeing again how much it has affected them in the long run and so forth. And she had got epidural on her spine, and whatever. And a lot of mothers go into these situations, scarcity, or don't have any type of support. So again, it's no judgment. It's just that was their path, and that's what she did. And long story short, she ended up developing some type of cancerous tumor from it. And if you don't know, like, if you go look at my community center, there's a connection there, a link that, is about her GoFundMe. And the reason why I'm sharing this, it has a lot to do with, like, again, going back to not just the father wound, but also the responsibility of, like you're talking about now, me finding out and not really having a deep, like, I want to say not deep connection, but just finding out, having another sister from your father, and then going back to the father wound of what she has experienced, and just knowing personally her connection with my father, and just seeing how, like, that pattern of what he has done, because again, he hasn't been in neither of our lives, and I don't mean just like, he can say this about what my mom did or what her mom did. It's not even about that. It's a simple fact. Like, again, I don't know the backstory, so I'm not going to come to a conclusion. It's what I know personally, like how some men make excuses about trying to make a effort to be there, especially when they have, whether it's the means, whether it's the transportation and so forth, even having a partner, whoever you with, to be supportive in that way. And that's the thing, again, when we talk about healing and so forth, it's like those things teach me about the father wound of, like, I cannot be that. Because it's like going back to the fact of like seeing how she didn't have, you know, at the time him being there, for me knowing this personally, like how much that affected her identity with even getting pregnant young. You know what I'm saying? And then her now having that, like she went through, it'll tell you on the GoFundMe thing, like how she had to have major surgery. And now she's like trying to walk again or in a wheelchair. It's a lot of stuff that's going on. I don't even know if she'll be able to walk again because of how much it has affected her spine, how much they have gone in there and did surgery. And that's why I always tell people, like, again, my perspective on it is like, I wouldn't personally, because I look at things holistically, but I wouldn't personally, if it really came to something like that, would allow people to cut, you know, or, you know, cut on you or, you know, shit like that, because it's just because of so much things traumatically, or, you know, that especially what people don't know. If you look at the statistic of what a lot of women go through, especially melanated women in the hospital, a lot of them have a lot of, like, there's a lot of death around either before or most likely after, because of whether their healthcare routine or, you know, how, you know, the narrative of how this shit is. Soon as, you know, a lot of these single mothers, soon as they get out, you know, they don't have no support, so they got to go right back into work, and they're not allowing their bodies to heal. And it ain't just a body. You're talking about mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's so many things that plays into that. And we're talking about now trying to reverse these traumas, these healing, you know, which I call healing in reverse. In a way, it's like seeing these wounds and trying to patch them up generationally. And, you know, and just seeing the awareness around it, it's like how it affects men and women. Like I've talked about the father wound, seeing my sister go through that, and now my father wound, you know, from what I know, trying to make an effort, and then now she's in a state to where it's like almost like a little too late. And that's why I tell people how significant it is for a father to be in their child's life. And a lot of you women, again, it's like holding you accountable. Like Love Dorsey be saying, like, a lot of y'all know, what is it, parental alienation. A lot of this shit now is coming to awareness, and it's great because you hearing it from a woman, especially a darker woman, who know personally what these women are doing. And men. Like, it's like, this is, when you talking about breaking generational chains and cycles, you talking about calling this shit out on both sides. If it looked like a duck, got like feathers, and it quacked like a duck, it's a fucking duck. Where's the accountability? Because there are no more excuses now. You either want to heal or grow or evolve or get the fuck out the way. Because it's only, your kids are eventually, just like as I did and other people, when you realize you can no longer manipulate them, and they find out about your shit, and they come to their own self-awareness, their own individuality, and their own self-awareness, and you purposely get pissed off, man, please flee from these people. Stay away from them people. That's what I had to accept within myself. They'll be all right. Let them watch from the sidelines. You don't got to be angry with them. They'll be angry with themselves. Let them leave this world in that dysfunctionality they choose not to change, and let them leave the world in their pride and ego. And you can still be in truth and love, be truthful with yourself. Then that's when you can begin honest relationships, foundation with yourself, most importantly, self-awareness. I saw a post, this sister said the first and last love we'll ever receive is love for ourselves. It's self-love. I was like, what the man? We're not taught these things. And it's like to see my sisters, my younger sister go through that. It just brings more awareness to the fact of like how important it is for the father to be there. And then, you know, a lot of that I look at is like, whether you want to use karma or just a lesson to where, you know, maybe this will force people or make people come around to realize, like, to bring them closer to themselves and to kids before it's too late. Like, a lot of y'all had the opportunity now to change certain shit and change patterns. But y'all, a lot of people too prideful because of their careers, their status, and money and all. That shit don't mean nothing because the world is changing, it's evolving with or without you. So man, whew, like that whole thing right now, I gotta sit here and breathe and get through a lot right now because of just to see that. When you want to be able to do certain things, but it's like it's beyond your control. Like I said, it's going back to those patterns where I knew, like, looking at the women that I know who would, it's wild because I remember, like, my grandmother, like, would literally have an issue. Like, this was wild. I don't think I ever talked about this, but I'm going to just leave it at this. Leave it at that. It's like, there was moments where I would create and do stuff and, but then there would be a cousin or something that wanted to stay with her, at the time, and these people would have people over. These people would be doing, let's say drugs or whatever. I would never do none of that shit because I had enough respect for myself to realize, like, I'm focused on something more bigger. But then I started to recognize a pattern where what people really enable or supported, because I start to see how a lot of women in my family, whether mother, grandmother, auntie, and so forth, they were okay, especially with the sons ruining their fucking lives, destroying their lives. And it's like, for a lot of them, they enjoyed it because they never cared for them to really prosper. And this is the weird shit, because it's almost like it's an infatuation with the trauma and seeing them in a way of like their boyfriend or husband. Because some of these people, like, the way their husbands and boyfriends treated them, it's almost like they wanted their sons to follow down that same pattern because they didn't have self-respect for themselves as a woman. So why are they surprised when, it really hit me like, my mom really don't care if someone really, long as this girl ain't go really, like, if she ain't showing up like this, if she's a woman that really show up and be confident in herself, she ain't gonna really have a problem with it until it's something like that. I've seen it, sit back and observe and see the jealousy when I seen certain cousins bring a girl around and so forth, and see purposely firsthand how the certain women will literally look at that woman with the evil eye because of whatever her accomplishments is. Don't let you come around talking about, oh, she's doing good, she's doing this, she got her own this and own that, and a lot of them probably never accomplished certain things. Oh my gosh, that goes for men too. Y'all know I'm stepping on toes right now because it's real. Because there's been a deep wound and insecurity when it comes to the awareness of self, when it really comes to the awareness of the confidence that a lot of people do not have, or afraid to be confident in their really true self. It's wild how people are confident in being dysfunctional and not willing to be confident in being functional and being more in a peaceful and harmonious, like, environment or even headspace or inwardly. Like I said, I would sit back and see this shit. I was like, wow. I know personally, like, relatives that, like, will have so many people in the home, right? And it's like no one's going nowhere. Everyone's codependent on this and codependent on that, but no one's going nowhere. No one's going nowhere. They're not building shit. They only creating more trauma. They're not building shit. Ain't nobody in there got no goals. Ain't nobody in there trying to focus on, beyond. And I used to sit down with certain cuz I'm like, bro, what you gonna do? You gifted, man. What you gonna do? And you know what? Source revealed to me, they're not gonna do it. It's you. You are here. Some of us are here to witness the fact that some of the people that we know, immediate family or not, are not going to build shit in this lifetime or even care to. It's on you. And it's on you. And you be lucky or grateful enough to even find a partner who will like help you build, like support you to build on that shit. Encourage you to build that vision. You encourage each other. Then when you do that, you pass that shit on to your kids. See, a lot of us, I realized I had to see the brokenness, the self-sabotaging behavior, a lot of shit now to really realize, like, it's my responsibility now, not just as a man, but as a human being or just as a person to really be the opposite and replace and restore those morals and principles, integrity, honesty, love, self-awareness, self-discipline, self-sufficiency, self-care, all these things. Because you realize you didn't see this shit growing up. And that's not a, whew. It's just as much as you see that, it's almost like, it's just as much as you see that house that was built out of, basically it's not a house out of stone. You see a house built out of like hay. And it's like all these people in this house and it's built out of hay. And they surprised that this shit can be blown over or something come and they surprised that it's crumble or, basically, or let's say a foundation built upon sand. And then now you here stone by stone, piece by piece, while you watch this like blow away and so forth, and people left naked with nothing, or even whatever they have, their emotional baggage, their shit that they inherited, or all this material shit they gained, and then here it is, they trying to drag it wherever they going. No sense of awareness, no sense of self. And then while they were in there, they were laughing and saying, ha, 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 look what I have, look where I'm at, da, da, da. And you over here the whole time, like, at the time you was doubting the fact of like, okay, well, I'm creating this. I'm actually building something off integrity. Whether it takes years or whatever it is and so forth, it's the consistency. What y'all doing is quick, fast. It's like you see these new houses now, they throwing this shit up with plywood, but it ain't nothing made out of brick or stone. So ain't none of that shit gonna be sustainable. Yeah, it's gonna withstand a couple, maybe storms or two. But when they ain't got shit internally or substance, they not ready for when that foundation crumble. They're not ready. They're not ready, and that's why you see a lot of people gonna self-destruct. You're gonna see a lot of people, the fact that they haven't went within, you're gonna see it all over their face. And I'm not saying point a finger, I'm just letting you know the real shit. Because I had to face it early. And I'm grateful that I had to, it's not even escape it. I'm glad I knew, I was aware of how to maneuver that shit. So I have a heightened awareness now. So I'm telling you, man, like, these are the thoughts. These are the things that were like a generational curse breaker. Most folks don't even realize, like, you talking about a whole world that's going through a whole shift and transition. Not to mention your own life and experience. And they sit back and laugh and they point the finger and so forth. And then you're going to be like, well, hey, you ain't even got to say I told you so. It's just going to be what it is. That's just my message for tonight. Peace and blessings. Shalom.